I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. Money and marriage, sex and children, and the HHS mandate. Catholic women are speaking out on these complex issues. Helen Alvari joins us to talk about it. Plus, a wave of gun violence launches a new debate on gun control in America. We'll go into the deep with Bishop DiMarzio for his thoughts.
I think we have to rethink what we mean by the right to bear arms and how we protect our population from people that are really unbalanced.
And we'll get into the swing of things at the 17th Annual Bishop's Golf Classic.
We've had a great day with golf. Thank God for the weather. It's been outstanding. And we had a great shotgun start at 11 o'clock. Everybody moved well. I think everybody had a great time.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's get you caught up on the Week in Review. This week, we took a look at the ongoing controversy behind the Health and Human Services mandate. But as we often do, we focused on a different perspective. Any way you present it, the very mention of the Obama administration's controversial health care rule sparks heated debates among supporters and opponents alike. The health care provision that would require employers to include contraception, sterilization, and some abortion-inducing drugs in their health plans free of charge has just about everyone, Catholics, non-Catholics, men and women, thinking long and hard about principles such as religious liberty, First Amendment rights, and for the purposes of this segment, a woman's right to choose what to do with her own body. Dr. Helen Alvari, author and associate professor of law at George Mason University School of Law, has been a longtime advocate for women's rights and a champion of religious liberty. Now, at the height of the HHS controversy, she co-wrote an open letter to President Obama, Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, and members of Congress entitled, "Don't Claim to Speak for All Women." Well, in her new book, Breaking Through Catholic Women Speak for Themselves, Dr. Alvari explores how faithful women are grappling with the complex issues facing women today, including the HHS mandate. We spoke earlier this week. Helen, you give women quite a voice in your new book about issues that have really been resonating nationally over the past year and, quite frankly, over generations. What are women, quote unquote, saying to you about these really relevant issues these days?
Right. Well, of course, each of the chapters deals with, very specific topics like contraception or same-sex attraction or fear of children or the new dating market for women. But I would say that generally speaking, one of the things that women are saying in particular is that they're drawing on the resources of both their faith and reason. The world is essentially suggesting to them that if they're women of faith, they have no reason, that faith isn't reasonable, and they're showing you sort of in action what Popes John Paul II and Benedict always talk about, which is faith and reason together illuminating their modern problems. They are affirming that they are facing problems that their mothers and grandmothers really didn't have to take a look at. These are very new. And they're saying that they have suggestions not only for the world, who's claiming to have all the answers and telling Catholic women what to think, but they also have suggestions for their church about consulting women on these very new questions.
Which, of course, brings us to probably one of the biggest issues that we're facing these days, which is, of course, the HHS mandate. We talk about it. In one of your blogs, you quote a New York Times poll, and you say, when registered voters were asked in a poll commissioned by the Catholic Association whether the government has the right to mandate morally objectionable medical coverage on religious institutions, 57% said no. Now, with a vast majority of women clearly offended by the implications, the message, the potential effects of the rule, what's the government missing these days?
I know. That is the million-dollar question. There's several answers come to mind. One is we are in the middle of a hot political season, and the Obama administration in particular is banking on getting what they call the women's vote. I don't believe there is such a thing. Women, thank you, are as diverse as we can be, but they have for so long been allied with a very particular wing of sort of the old feminist ideology that says basically that sexual expressionism, without a baby and maybe even without a relationship involved, is the sine qua non of equality. It makes a woman like a man. And I think they've been hanging out for so long with, NARAL and Planned Parenthood and groups like Emily's List, which put in pro-abortion members in the House and Senate, I don't think they actually understand anymore that issues that women are concerned about do not include sex without having a baby in every occasion. That there's actually more to women's freedom than sexual expression with nothing else involved.
And Helen, yet they do try to speak to women. By they, I mean the administration and President Obama, who has said that the HHS mandate and of the surrounding debate, that I don't think your boss, your insurance companies, or politicians should control the care that you get. Now, his suggestion is that allowing exemptions to the mandatory coverage allows employers and others to control women. What do you make of this argument?
Right. He's deliberately conflating several questions. Women have always been and will always be able to, in the modern era, since the 1960s, access contraception or early abortion if they want. And they even can do it in many, many cases on the government's dime. This is something that we speak about morally, and we will continue to. But the question here on the table is whether religious institutions have to facilitate it. Do they have to buy the insurance policy to which these things are connected? This has nothing to do with controlling what women are going to do in this arena. Obviously, we'll continue to speak morally and about the data on why women ought to choose life, why they ought to choose to keep integrity of body and soul and sexual choices.
Helen, I'm sure you heard this. Last week, the ACLU introduced yet another aspect to this debate. They argued that the ability to have full control of reproductive lives and to be able to decide whether and when women should have children is an important component of gender equality, and that denying this right is tantamount to discriminatory practices of the past. And they went so far as to call it a form of bigotry. Is discrimination even a factor here?
Oh, gosh, let me try and get at this. What they do is they redefine non-discrimination and freedom. That's their first move. And they define it as anything that suggests that a woman is different from a man, that two people would walk away from a sexual encounter and one of them would have to be pregnant. Instead of seeing this as simply a fact of women's existence, a gift of the bodies that we've been given, they describe it as right away a problem. And therefore, anything that does not allow women to be in the exact same position as men, that is sexual expression without procreation, and frankly, from their view, also without, connection or wanting a relationship with the person you were just a partner with, that is in itself discrimination. This is an extremely different understanding of freedom and equality that not only the church has, but frankly most women have, whether they're Catholic or not, which is to accept our bodies as they are, to understand there's a relationship between our bodies and our minds, our bodies and our soul, to understand that what women really want is not to be severed from connection, severed from the men in their lives, severed from the children that they are gifted, but rather to be empowered to embrace them, to be enabled both mentally and emotionally and financially and in their job situation, to be able gladly to welcome a committed relationship with a man and a motherhood of a child. But to suggest that freedom only means cutting off relationships and sexual expression with no connection. Once you define that as what it takes to be equal with the man, then you're going to be blathering on about the absolute need for the state to hand you contraception and abortion to make you equal. This is not the view of freedom and equality that women really possess.
All right,
they
Helen,
want to be empowered to love, not to disconnect.
Helen, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but I'm happy we're leaving it on a very encouraging note. I want to mention once again that the book is called Breaking Through, Catholic Women Speak for Themselves, and it's available now for pre-order on Amazon.com in print September 20th. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a very interesting conversation. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And next up, we take the pulse of politics and the upcoming election on a local level. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Catholic vote. Now, this demographic has become an important stepping stone on the road toward the White House. According to a recent Gallup poll, Catholics constitute almost 1 in 4 voters in the U.S. today, making their voice an important target of the Obama and the Romney election. To put it in even greater perspective, data shows no presidential candidate has won the White House without winning Catholics since at least the early 1990s. Well, with statistics like this, it is no wonder that voter registration and information campaigns in the Catholic community have become so critical. We took a look at one such event this week, which took place at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Brooklyn. It was a nonpartisan voter registration program, and volunteers worked to get the word out about how important it is to head to the polls in November.
We're here at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Brooklyn running a nonpartisan voter registration drive with the Catholic Citizens Committee. This is something that the Bishop DiMarzio has asked that happen throughout the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. Today alone, we are going to be going to 11 different churches. We learned early in this campaign there's an astonishing statistic that only about 20% of Catholics are actually actively voting. We need to do better. Other sects and religions are doing better, and we need to make sure that Catholics are actively voting so that our voices can be heard.
I firmly believe that we need more education and more information, and just to getting out the word out there, what's going on with our faith. That's what got me involved. So we're participating in all the different masses and speaking after each of the mass to encourage people to vote. We're both participating in the Spanish Mass, which is upstairs in the church, and also the English Mass down here.
The church can never back one candidate over another. That's not what we're here for. What we are here for is to make sure that justice is given for all people. And so what we try to do is make parishioners aware of the issues that affect their lives, the issues that affect our church.
Many of you might have heard about the HHS mandate. It's an issue of religious liberty because the church shouldn't be forced to pay for something it doesn't believe in.
I feel it's wonderful how the woman spoke off the pulpit. Outside the church, we're getting people involved. Catholics sometimes sit on their hands and don't be part of what they should be, stand up for what their values are. Today's strong. There's a big group here listening, watching out, signing. This is what we need.
Un mandato que va en contra de nuestra conciencia como católicos.
The point that I was trying to bring across was 3 things. First of all, to unite in prayer with the church against this mandate and to pray for religious freedom. Second, to register to vote. But most important, to give more information about the people, what was going on, and inform them that our faith is being attacked, our conscience. I find that people are eager to help. People are eager to get involved.
Speaking with different people from different neighborhoods and different ethnicities, it was just nice kind of getting feedback from them on how they felt about this whole issue. And it was nice to see that Catholics are involved and they are getting active and they are going out to vote. And the whole thing was just about awareness, making sure people are aware of the issues that do affect us, do affect our community.
Stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Coming up, does the Catholic Church have an official position on gun control? Bishop DiMarzio has some answers as we go into the deep.
I think the 10 Commandments tell, thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
And if we make it easy for people to kill people, then I think we're just making a mistake.
Welcome back. This past Wednesday, 28-year-old Floyd L. Corkins II walked into the lobby of the Family Research Council, an organization that advocates socially conservative and Christian causes, and opened fire. A security guard who helped wrestle Corkins to the ground was wounded in the struggle. Authorities now say the man was angry at the conservative stance of the Family Research Council. In his bag, court documents say police found 50 rounds of ammunition and 15 sandwiches from Chick-fil-A, which combined with the suspect's statement added a political dimension to the shooting. Corkins has been charged with assault with intent to kill while armed and interstate transportation of a firearm and ammunition. He was ordered by a judge Thursday to undergo a mental evaluation, and that's according to the Washington Post. Meantime, the events that played out in a Denver suburb on July 20th have shifted the course of many lives. On that now infamous day, 24-year-old James Holmes went on a shooting rampage, killing 12 people and wounding 58 others at an Aurora, Colorado movie theater. Authorities said the gunman might have killed more if his assault rifle had not jammed. Assault rifles, SIGs, thousands of rounds of ammunition. In Holmes's case, much of this was bought online. Democratic leaders in 3 big states have used this summer's mass shooting in Colorado to push bills that would crack down on assault weapons and ammunition sales. That's according to the Associated Press. And locally, the Daily News reports that Brooklyn Republican Senator Marty Golden has sponsored legislation that would, quote, allow prosecutors to bring felony charges against anyone who shares or illegally transfers a gun that is later used in a violent crime. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg is said to support that bill. Well, for some sound Catholic perspective, we presented the issue of gun violence and gun control to Bishop DiMarzio. He spoke to our news director, Ed Wilkinson, about the implications of both in this week's Into the Deep.
Bishop, welcome. Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Last month we had this tragic mass shooting in Colorado. You know, the Batman movie was on, and the guy thought he was a Joker, came in, shot up the whole place. So that's led to a national debate on guns and who should have guns. And there is no actual Catholic position on gun control, is there?
No, you wouldn't think anything particular as a policy statement, but again, it's common sense. I think the 10 Commandments tell, thou shalt not kill. Mm-hmm. And if we make it easy for people to kill people, then I think we're just making a mistake. Mm-hmm. And clearly, the Constitution says we have the right to bear arms. Bear arms is, again, for protection. Mm-hmm. And I think those circumstances are limited. And I think we should investigate what did the founders believe. They were trying to get away from tyranny, and so they wanted to be able to defend themselves against unjust laws. But today, you know, with automatic weapons, it changes the thing completely. Yeah. When you had to load every shot, it made a big difference.
Sure.
So I think we have to rethink what we mean by the right to bear arms and how we protect our population from people that are really unbalanced.
You know, it seems that, I mean, we do have the constitutional right to have a gun or a rifle in some places with some restrictions. And we do have laws that restrict guns. I mean, some of these people who go in, they shoot up movie theaters or malls, they're acting against the law already, whether or not they have a gun or not. So, I mean, that is really just common sense if we would enforce the laws that we have about guns.
It's true. Again, when people can buy guns over the internet, when in some states there's no waiting period. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of things that could be done to limit the number of guns out there. I think our own city of New York has done tremendously good things in trying to buy back guns that are in play. Just had 2 murders that happened in Bay Ridge recently. The same gun, same person. We really need to restrict who has a gun. They're not necessary for the protection of people.
Yeah. What do you think's going on here? Do you think that we live in a more violent age, or do you think we're just hearing more about things that always went on?
No, I think the United States, unfortunately, we're probably one of the most violent countries when not at war. Mm-hmm. How unsafe we are because there's too many guns in play. So we really have to think about that.
Yeah. In the Archdiocese of Denver, they responded, of course, with, as a church, they had some masses and they had some prayer services, and they reached out with counseling for many of the victims. Is there anything else the church can do at a time like that? The bishops seem to be very present to the people at that time.
Of course, you know, any tragedy, you try to be available to people, try to do what the church does best, I think, console people. Most recently, we saw this terrible situation in Wisconsin where a Sikh temple was attacked. Again, even houses of worship are not safe from attack. And in our own country, you know, we saw what happened in Iraq where that Catholic church was mass slaughter. But we don't think those things can happen here. So we really have to be on our guard to make sure that people who should not have guns do not have them because it's public safety that's at stake.
Yeah, and of course, when this fellow goes to trial out in Colorado, it may be a death penalty case, and the church, of course, is. We have a nuanced position on the death penalty, but basically we're against that, aren't we?
Right, we would be against the death penalty, even in horrible circumstances, because the value of life is absolute. It's not only the good who have a right to life. Everyone has a right to life. Doesn't mean that it can't be punished. But taking away a life doesn't even the score. It doesn't solve anything. So our position has been that we, in general, would be against the death penalty. I say in general because it's not an absolute norm, but it's clearly where the church has gone over the last generation.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a very pleasant topic, but let's hope we don't visit it too often.
Sure.
Thanks for being with us today.
Good to be here.
Into the Deep with Bishop DiMarzio. And if you have something that you would like to ask Bishop DiMarzio, let us know, and we just may ask him in a future Into the Deep interview. Email us your questions at our new address, currentsny@desalesmedia.org. That's currentsny@desalesmedia.org. Stay tuned. More Currents Week in Review after the break. When we return, golfing for a cause at the 17th Annual Bishop's Golf Classic.
We chose them because of the importance of having the immigrants coming to America treated in a fair way and to be able to assimilate into American life.
Finally tonight, if you love golf and have a charitable spirit, last week the North Hills Country Club in Manhasset was definitely the place to be. There the focus was on an organization over 40 years in the making. Catholic Migration Services of Brooklyn and Queens dates back to 1971. Back then, the Most Reverend Francis J. McGovero established a program to serve the needs of immigrants and refugees living in Brooklyn and Queens. Well, since then, the agency has faithfully served several thousand immigrants, regardless of religion, race, or immigration status. Participants in the program hail from at least 167 countries and collectively speak more than 80 languages. The organization's 4 major programs provide critical services to the immigrants of the diocese, so what better reason to organize a spectacular, fun-filled charity event intended to help keep these services up and running for many more years to come. The 17th Annual Bishop's Golf Classic set out to do just that, and of course, we were there. Reporter Jim Mancari has the story.
The DeSales Media Group hosted its 17th Annual Bishop's Golf Classic August 9th at the North Hills Country Club in Manhasset, Long Island. 120 golfers hit the links to support the Diocese of Brooklyn's Catholic Migration Services.
We've had a great day with golf. Thank God for the weather. It's been outstanding. And we had a great shotgun start at 11 o'clock. Everybody moved well. I think everybody had a great time. The proceeds from today's golf outing are going to be given to the Diocesan Immigration Migration Services. We chose them because of the importance of having the immigrants coming to America treated in a fair way and to be able to assimilate into American life. And the Migration Services Office of the Diocese have been doing an outstanding job.
The money that's given to us this evening is going to be divided between our 4 major programs, our immigration legal services, our housing immigration legal services, and our employment immigration legal services, as well as our pastoral program, which deals with all the apostolates, all the language masters of the diocese, and really the bishop's endeavor to really welcome all the many different cultures in Brooklyn and Queens.
This influx of donation will really be very helpful to them. Again, thank God the sales media group doesn't need all of the income, but they're able to help others. It's a tradition. The tablet was able to help many people in their Bright Christmas Fund. So this is just following the tradition that our media outlets are actually works of charity at the same time.
It brings people in. It helps people understand what goes behind the scenes in putting out media, both print media and video media.
This year's honorees included Monsignor Martin Garrity, the current pastor of St. Robert Bellarmine Parish in Bayside, and the DeSales Media Board of Directors.
There are so many wonderful pastors in the diocese that there's no such thing as Pastor of the Year. Everybody's woven into the fabric of the diocese. We're all involved in welcoming the stranger and being part of the reaching out to others.
A handful of special guests, including current Mets outfielder and Whitestone native Mike Baxter, and former Brooklyn Dodgers catcher and original 1962 Met Joe Pignatano, took part in the festivities.
Oh, it's just great to come to an event like this. You know, it really hits home with me playing CYO sports as a kid and getting a chance to come out and just hang out with people from the neighborhood. It's great to meet everybody. The tablet, I grew up reading it at church, you know, and that's something that you don't forget those kinds of things when you're a kid and you grow up. And having a chance to come back around and actually meet the people behind it.
The Bishop's Golf Classic was once again a great success. DeSales would like to thank the more than 75 tournament sponsors for making the day possible. For Currents, I'm Jim Mancari.
And that was Currents correspondent Jim Mancari. Well, that's it for tonight, and you are officially all caught up on what has been a very busy week. If you missed any of the reports we reviewed tonight, visit us online at currentsny.net anytime. You can also follow us on Twitter. Look for us there at CurrentsNY. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. We leave you with more scenes from last week's Bishop's Golf Classic at North Hills Country Club in Manhasset, Long Island.